Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Are we
Hello there.
we are we li- are we live?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Are they saying
Are we on the
live?
internet?
Okay, we'll do it. We'll do it live.
I didn't sign on for this. Wasn't in the contract.
And I muted myself. Okay, cool. Welcome everyone to another one Lightborn. We are exploring some rat cities because I
The
think that
toxicity
rats.
in this
The
city.
toxicity of rat cities, of rat cities. Because I like rats. I find them to be very compelling models
I
as
don't.
characters. Well,
Sucks.
I've seen.
yeah, poor Aarakocra girl, out here trying to live her life amongst these rat folk. All right, let's get to rolling some stuff for a
What?
recap. Any
I
recappers?
rolled it in an 8.
I rolled it in a
There.
What?
You first, Glenn.
I got a 6.
I got a 19, so it's I'll be doing the recap.
Oh wow. Sorry, I looked at
Freezing.
my arms. I was like, oh, I did go outside recently.
Previously on another one, we started on our journey to Coolwater. I have to pass through 2 layers to get down to the third and avoid patrols on the way. Pass through the fog-bound layer, which acted as some sort of ward for rat folk affected by the fog. Met a guard captain from a house of lesser nobility who gave us a pass that enables us to travel forwards, and we were able to smuggle in scritches successfully. Descended down into the city of Stoneshire, a wildly fantastical, magical, whimsical, and insane-looking city with magic, bright colors flying all over the place. Spent the night at a metal bar, met a drow bartender, didn't get a name. But what we did get was that drows here are a little different from the drows that we know. To us, they're just elves. Down here, they're drows, separate from elves, according to them. An amendment to our original hypothesis is confirmed by this drow bartender that seems like pure fey creatures and not those of just fey origin are immune to the effects of the fog. Still a working hypothesis. Confirmed by many, the rat folk have also only emerged post-fog. After spending the night at the tavern, we started making our way toward the passage down to Coolwater. Scritch's losses never made break for it due to suspected magic nullification detection technology at the passage entrance. However, he was interrupted by someone, interrupted is a soft word, caught by someone who apparently knows him and called him by his actual name, still being Water Seeker.
Who?
That's it. Scritches. Still being Water Seeker.
Right.
Still been.
So, this is where you find yourselves. You are in and amongst a courtyard that is quite wide. There are various rat folk meandering about. There's also a couple deep gnomes just chilling, kind of going about their day. And you see your friend Scritches kind of like, run forward, just apparently very, very much wanting to get out. He breaks his invisibility, and in along his way to the entrance to the kind of like stairwell down to Coolwater is stopped by what seems to be a spell, and he is now sitting rigid as a rat, another rat, comes up to him and speaks. A rat comes up to him and speaks to him quite loudly. Still been Water Seeker? What are you doing here? And you're a little ways away, and he kind of lowers his voice to have like what is apparently a very open but private discussion with him.
When I see that happen, this figure emerge, I'm gonna kind of jog up. Boy, what you? You leave our tour guide alone.
Tour guide.
Aye.
This person's wanted for critically injuring a student of the college.
And then I look at him. Care to explain yourself?
He's frozen.
What did you say his name was?
Stilben Waterseeker.
That's not
And
him.
what color was Stilben?
And he casts a spell of some sort, and
Maybe like
puts him back to
prestidigitation?
yeah.
Well, you can't just change.
And I
his
go,
color
stop
to make
messing
you
his
think
fur. I
that-
turn
you
it
can't
back.
just change his color to make him seem like who you think he is.
And I put it back.
Listen, beaked lady, I have been in personal contact with this man for about 5 years. We worked in the same offices together. There's
With the
no
rat.
way you're going to. He is male.
Rat
This
man.
is male.
Okay,
Alright,
bad woman.
I think we
You
could just...
started it. That's what you called me.
Let's just all...
God,
let's
get
just
over
all...
here.
Wait. We don't
And,
need to do any of that.
He kind of waves and gestures very loudly to the guards nearby.
Get real close to
Listen.
Scrib. I'm like, hey, should we just drop the facade? 1 grunt for yes, 2 for no.
Roll a stealth check? I don't know.
While she's yelling for the guards, she
Yeah.
can hear me whispering in his ear.
It's a man, and you're right next to him.
Okay.
Well, he said he went right up to him.
Yeah, I went right up to him and put my face
Yeah, roll a
in
stealth
his
check.
ear.
No. Freaking Auburn went right up next to the other guy.
Oh.
That's what I'm saying. Just roll a stealth check. Not a big deal.
Me?
Any stealth checkers? Yes.
What am I stealthing? I walked up and said something to him.
Yeah, you whispered to him.
If they hear me, I don't care. It's fine.
That's fine.
I thought
No,
you were...
it's just
Yeah.
Oh my God, Glenn! All right,
I'm not...
um,
I'm trying to hide it.
So he looks over and he's like, "What?" But like he just seems confused more than anything.
It did it to
Um,
Scritches.
Oh, to Scritches?
Yeah.
Well,
Should we
the
drop
guy
the
who's
facade?
there is right next to him, and he's already dispelled magic. Scritches like,
Yeah, and I'm just
Sure.
asking Scritches if we should just drop it, because he would know when we
Scritches
should
is
just...
also frozen by.
So I said, what whole person lets you speak falteringly? But that's why I said 1 grunt for yes, 2 for no. So I was hoping he could go, eh! And then just confirm, yeah, this is him.
Sure, yeah. I thought you were talking to Auburn.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So he goes, he just, sure, why not?
Yeah, this is the guy.
I know that.
Oh, I just wanted to make sure you know that I also know.
Oh. Gods? It's just like
Hi, guard.
And a couple guards come over, and they're pretty big looking rat dudes. They're maybe like 6'3", 6'4", big guys. And covered in like plate armor, and like they have spears, but they're very showy and fanciful. Like you could tell that they're they're more this armor is more for almost like parade than for use, though it definitely is usable. And they say, "What's all this?" No, they say, "What's going on here? Why is this man frozen?" And he kind
Seems
of
like
looks
he
at
thought
each
He
one.
assaulted us, and I'm going to point to the other rat.
Okay, let's calm down, Ray. There was no assault. Just seems
He's
like...
stopped. Watch, and I'm going to counter spell.
Okay,
Can you
That's
give
what
us
happens
those?
when you're casting.
Yeah,
It has to be
Yeah,
dispelled
I
once
can-
it's already
yeah,
cast.
Do you have it?
Fine.
Yeah, do you have a dispel magic?
No.
No.
All right,
Just
listen.
that.
There's been no assault. It just seems like we got ourselves mixed up with someone who said who he was, but we didn't think or know who he actually was. And I'm just gonna like gesture to like all of the sigils that we each have on our shoulders. Listen, we're just trying to get down to cool water, and this man here said that he could do that for us. That's
And the guards say, "Well, unfreeze the guy then. I mean, we need to ask him questions." And I believe that is perhaps a mistake, sir. Unfreeze the guy. And he kind of like leans on his spear forward a little bit, kind of looking at the rat individual next to him, and says, "All right, just be ready. He may flee." And
I'm gonna
the
grab
guy
his
snaps his
shoulder,
finger,
stretch his shoulder, just
and Scrooge is like, "Ah."
All right, now run.
Ah.
They start
Ready,
flying.
sir, run! And then he kind of like starts jitter stepping, and the guard, "Oh, all right, just calm down. You need to relax, take a deep breath. What is going on here?" And
Mm.
the individual next to you, who is wearing very obviously like wizard-like clothes, um, he he says, "Well, this individual is at large." At large, you say? Yes. He was caught harming an individual of the academy. It was an accident. It was an accident.
as if I may, is like a warrant? Is he wanted by the city? Is
That's something. Yeah, we'll ask the proper people. What's your name, sir? And pointing to uh, the wizard fella, uh, Perish Littlebones, at your service. And he says, "Oh, all right. Do you know message or do you have the ability to send a spell, like send information?" Yes. Okay. Do you know who the head guard is? It's Alvis Merriweather. I've met him once. Yeah, I'll send him a spell. Worded particularly has to be, this is a minor civil dispute requiring immediate attention from Brad. Yes, Glenn? You are muted.
Yeah, sorry. I lost all your audio for a second. I don't know what happened, but I fixed it.
Okay.
Okay.
Um,
Nobody could hear you, so I wanted you to pause. Sorry.
yeah. So he said, sit down. There's some benches right there. We'll talk when the head, when he gets back. All right? All good? All right.
sounds good?
And
Thanks,
then
sir.
Scritches goes and sits down, and he's like twiddling his fingers, kind of very nervously, and I don't know where you sit, but Parrish is kind of nearby, keeping a weather eye on Stillman. And what would you guys like to do?
I'm gonna go up to Scritches and be like, "Well, this was kind of bound to happen. You realize that?"
Well, I mean, if I would have gotten cool, it wouldn't have happened. I just really wanted
Right.
to go home.
Right, but you're trying to sneak through using magic in a city full of magic users. If
What
somebody was,
before? It's worked
it
before.
might have worked before, but that doesn't mean it's going to work every time. Somebody might have set up some sort of alert system to let them know, maybe
Oh, it's
bound
not.
to you.
It's not that big of a deal. It's not like I didn't kill the guy. It's he's just there.
I'm not worried about what you did. Um,
It's an accident. That's all it was.
I'm sure. I believe you. I'm not. We're not even talking about that. I'm just saying right now. I think the best thing to do is just to sit tight. We'll see how it goes. I'm gonna at least. I think we're at least gonna play like a until we get more information a distant role. But the moment we can have your back, we'll get your back. All right?
All right. I
Because
just
it so far seems it's a good thing that the guards haven't recognized you immediately. It seems like it's only members of this academy. So if it's not some sort of city-wide warrant, we'll just stroll on out of here.
I mean, Pesh is kind of a prick. He's
I'm
always
I'm a bigger prick.
he's always trying to get one over on people. I really like him. And he kind of like looks, downward. He looks shameful a little bit, like he's having a rough time. But he's sitting there, calmish. Rhea,
I'm gonna ruffle the top of his
Cascade.
head and then just be like,
Don't do that. I'm probably twice your age.
and I'm gonna do it more. I'm like chin up.
It's like, stop it. um, Rhea, Cascade, would you like to do anything?
I'm just standing there staring, unenthused about the situation. We were just supposed to be in, find our information, and get out. So just miffed.
Just miffed, just tapping your talon on the floor. Yeah.
Yep. Hand on my or talon on my hip,
Yeah.
wing on my hip.
Yeah, I'm just hanging there watching. Probably sitting next to Scritches, because when he heard, the instructions as far as what to do, he was listening as if it was him. So he's also sitting right next to Scritches, like on the bench. Just, I wonder when the guy's gonna get here. Does he like you? I say that to Scritches.
Elvis? I mean,
His name is Elvis.
Alvis.
Elvis would have been way funner. But Elvis is good too.
Says, hey, I've had no problems with him before. He's seen me in a few situations, but he's always been nice.
Good.
Good.
Well, I'm excited to meet him, and I just sit there.
And he, you guys wait, and slowly, maybe like 10, 15 minutes go by. The parish attempts to talk to the guards, and he's like, I'm not here to hear it. That's for my boss. And they just kind of like are monitoring the situation, and their hands are always on their weapons. They're not. They look bored, but they're also keenly aware of what's going on and are watching you guys intently.
Sorry, could I talk to the guards? I don't want to roll.
Yeah, of course.
Could I talk to the guards?
Yeah.
I just want to ask them about procedures and like policies that the guards enforce that the public would know. So I'm not trying to get any inside information, but I'm just genuinely curious as to like the guarding structure or like how the guard operate.
Oh,
if they're willing to tell me.
Yeah, so he says kind of strange questions in the current time, but but he's willing to talk to you about it, and he's like, it's as he describes it, it sounds like what you imagine any other city might do. They have posts, they have guard shacks and things like that. Some people do patrols. It's general.
Just
general
just running the mill
stuff.
stuff. Yeah, and I'd explain
Yeah.
like, it was just first time down here, and I'm just trying to see cultural and societal differences, and that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, and he says, there's only so many ways to fit a shoe, right? And
True.
like garden. I would assume it's the same everywhere, but he does mention like a few like little oddities. Don't spit on the sidewalk. That's a big one, as well as littering is like a super super bad problem that was a problem and then it became illegal and now people are like they'll put you in jail for a day if you litter at all. So just don't litter. And they kind of just explain some of these more mundane things to you, you know. And he said you should have seen the place before the littering laws. It was like you know, there was some Rat Donald's wrappers over on the sidewalks all over the place. There was you know, foam cups from the augury. There's for the from the whole augments. I don't know why people use them so often. They can't reuse them. They just try to, but you know, since then people have been, you know, being a lot more responsible. It's nice. I feel like I get to be a part of that, you know. I get to make sure that the community's clean.
A happy city.
You know, it's like anyway, you know, and he just kind of like trails off. But he seems to be proud of his job. But
it's good.
The time passes and Alvis arrives, and he is he's actually a rather small little rat folk.
Elvis.
It's pronounced Alvis. Alvis.
Alvis. And
Thank
just
you.
like I just stand up from next to the Scritches and I walk towards him and put my hand out and say, "Nice to meet you. I'm Cascade."
Shake hands with people, but thank you. It's nice, well met. And he kind of like looks at his guards, and he says, "What's going on?" And the guards are like, "Well, you know,
I Homer
this guy
Simpson
froze
into the crowd.
That guy." Yeah, this guy froze that guy, and you know they seem to think that you should have a warrant or something like that. And all right, and he walks over. He looks like droopy, like sad, like he just woke up. Even though it's like midday, and clearly he's an important person, so, or at least relatively important. So he's probably been up since early in the morning. But yeah, he just looked like so bored to be here. And he walks up to Stilben and he says, "Stilben, was that you?" Yes, I'm sorry. Stilben, what have I told you about running afoul of your fellow mages? Well, I'm not a mage, technically. Don't be lippy with me, Stilben. It's been 2 weeks since you burned that little kid's hand off. People have been looking for you. You know, you gotta face your punishment sometime. Well, I just don't want to. He was such a good child, and I feel so bad, and I just. And then he kind of like stutters a little bit and kind of, you know, avoids Alvis's eyes, and he says, "Look, Stillman, I want you to do well. Everybody in the city wants you to do well. Everybody that knows your name, and that's all people. But you gotta take responsibility for your actions. I just don't want to be, you know, sent up. You're not gonna get banded, Sylvan. Are you sure? You're not gonna get banded. You're not gonna get banded." And he like pats Stilben on the leg, which like this guy is like 3'5". He's fucking tiny. So he's like almost like level with his legs, or just a little bit taller, and just pats his leg. He says, "All right, why don't you get up, come with me to the station. You don't got a warrant, there's nothing like that, but we can figure out a thing or two to do before you see your sister. Right?" All right, I guess that's fair. And Parrish behind him, you notice Parrish is like kind of fuming. He's like, I can't believe you're letting him just get away with this. This isn't about getting away with things happen, accident. This is the third accident that's happened this year. He's burned a kid's hand off. He lit the main hallway on fire. You know as well as I do that it's not his fault. Things happen. We got to deal with it. We make sure. Yes, sir.
Not for you as the how tall is Parrish?
Parrish is like probably like 5'8", 5'9".
Okay. I'm gonna come up behind him while he's like arguing his case. And put my hand on his shoulder with a firm grip. I'm like, now. Seems like the one in charge has made his decision. Doesn't bode well for you to sit and argue with him, does it? And like
Sir,
squeeze a little bit.
Sir, I am a fellow of the Academy. There's no one that could tell me.
It doesn't seem like you're acting like a fellow of some academy. It seems like you're a little bit out of decorum.
Now, sir. And Alvis is like, yeah. Alvis is like, no, he's right.
I do.
Just because
I make a small little flame and it's a little explosion, and I go, "Oh!" when that happens.
And Alvis says, he's right, Parrish. Just because you got a fancy title and you're a teacher doesn't mean you get to handle the law around here. You know, taking stuff into your own hands. Man, these fellas, you're lucky they're well-rounded. They could be off the rocker, just, attack you and cause a scene in the middle of the square here. If something happened, then my men could have gotten involved. They could have gotten hurt.
I quite like Stone shit. It was just a shocker after all we've seen. We were at a very lovely bar last night, and we had a great time. And just to find somebody with such improper etiquette and approach to things, it's just truly disappointing. And I was really excited to visit the academy too. Are you a representative of the Fine Academy, sir? I'm looking at Parrish.
Stillman's a representative of the academy.
And I've had a great time with Stillman.
You know what? You know what? The paperwork can wait. Parrish, get the hell out of here. And Parrish is like, sir! And Brandon. And then Brandon walks over and like kind of is like hand on the shoulder, much like you just did. And it's like, come on, sir.
And I do a trade off.
Move on.
When he comes up, puts his hand on, like my hands off.
You'll be hearing from me. So, yeah, I get letters all the time. And he
Okay, Karen.
It's just a pleasure to meet you, sir. Alvis, was it? Sorry about the commotion this morning. We didn't know too many of the details. We were just on our way down.
Right. I mean, he's gonna want to get to his sister, I'm sure. And just you're new here. Bowing as usual for those sorts of people. So just put on your best noble airs, as it were. Talk for me. I'm already so low to the ground. You get what I'm saying? Hey. But nah. Stillman's a good lad. He's been around these parts for a long, long time. And, he makes his mistakes, but he owns up to them eventually. He just gets scared. Where were you at, anyway? I was, north of Fogbound. And, Stillman, you can't be running out to the fog like that, or near the fog. You could have gotten messed up by Marcus. I almost did.
We killed Marcus until he started piecing himself back together.
Yeah, you can't really kill Marcus.
Real bad.
Yeah, he was a little bit of facts about Marcus. He was a part of some experiment by some kind of wonky mages. I arrested them. They were doing some kind of messed up stuff. He was all for it. He thought.
Are you like the captain of the guard?
Yeah. I mean, we have a couple of them, but I handle the market and usually the academy. I
don't mean to take up too much more of your time, but do you have a place where we could talk? I feel like you'd be the best person that could help us out as well, as much as we could help you.
Well, yeah. I mean, do you want to talk now, or you mean meet me at a later date?
Well, just maybe a little bit more private, unless you're comfortable speaking here.
Oh, we could talk here. It's no big deal. If
Um,
it is something that needs to be private, then I'll direct you to my guards' quarters. It's about 10-minute walk down that way. Big red building. Really easy to find.
Cool. So I'll start. And you tell me if it's getting too much. But
Sure.
um, we were on the trail of a Pacific Eric Cochran, known as Redby, who's been taking other Eric Cochrans, capturing them and experimenting with them, and they end up with feathers. Like they lose all their feathers from like the neck up, and they've got bright red feathers. And we believe they've teamed up with maybe some of the Fogbound, or he's got some of them under his control, because they've been snatching some of the Eric Cochran, and we're just trying to track him. And Sylvan said there might be some information down below, and you seem like somebody of high enough authority. You might be connected. Maybe you've heard something.
And he kind of shakes his head up and down. He says, "You know, I might know a thing or two about that. Yeah. You know what? You're right. After you get done with the business, Stillman's sister, you just stop by the guard shack. I'll be there. I'll prep a couple things to do a little show and tell. You seem like a small cookie. You seem like an angry cookie, and you seem like a cookie. And pointing at Cascade. and,
That
but
part's true.
I'm sure you haven't gone down here without your fair share of fighting, and people don't make it down here unless they know how to, survive. So I think we could discuss that in more detail later.
Appreciate it.
All right. Well, go on with you. Just if you see him start to freak out about anything, just best thing to do, give him room, let him breathe. You know, most of the time it's an accident. The kinds of
Right.
things that happen. He works with chemicals all the time. Yes, very, very dangerous chemicals, which now, in retrospect, on many occasions I've thought that is a bad idea, but I'm really good at it. and but and it's true. He's renowned here in Stoneshire, but at the same time, gotta make sure that you keep yourself safe. Yes, you know, I, I've been pretty calm the past couple of days, wouldn't you
He
say,
has been.
gentlemen?
He has been. He's been very reasonable and very helpful, honestly. And that's not me just giving some customer feedback. Just genuinely, he's shown us all the wonders of the different layers since we've gotten down here.
Well, that's good. He is a representative of this city, so good job. And he kind of pats him on the back. Just take care of yourself. Go talk to your sister. All right? And he kind of scritches. Stillman just kind of nods his head. And he's, right. All right. Get on with you. And he turns around and just walks away.
So, would you prefer Scritches or Stillman? Your choice. Your name.
Well, I mean, my given name is Stillman. Scritches is, just kind of a pet name my sister
Cool.
gave me. So,
Do we really need to take him to his sister now? The guard
I
gave us all the information we need.
Part of the deal. Let's just go see what's down there.
I'm sure that, you will be compensated in some way for the trouble that you have undertaken with me. And I must say that you have handled my oddity very nicely, with much aplomb. So,
I'm part of what's essentially the mafia, in where I come from.
Oh,
So I've seen a few oddities in my time. I've.
well,
Wait,
You
you
know what, I'll
are?
be honest. We could talk about this later, Cascade. I figured that was obvious.
That's what that was?
I
Whoa.
figured that was obvious. But,
I had no
Scritches,
idea, man.
I may have destroyed or killed a couple of people I'm supposed to guard or buildings. I've collapsed because I get a little bit too um, caught up in the heat of the moment with my spells. We share a similarity that way. I
And
I
you're kind
too
of
have
walking
an
as you're talking,
yeah.
and yeah.
I too
Uh,
have an elder, a senior I report to who's taken the brunt of all of my wrongdoings. So,
oh,
um,
Mix is she's she's truly a saint. Uh, she she takes care of me, and I try my best to care for the city in in recompense for that. And you start heading down the kind of stairwell. And the big stairwell before that you came from Fogbound into Stoneshear, it had those, very wacky, crazy, all over the place drawings of runes and markings and things like that. There's a dick, like everything that you could imagine a 5-year-old to a 45-year-old person might draw with a magic marker of some sort. Um, in uh, in the central kind of like hub stairwell, which is quite wide. It is the other one was pretty wide, maybe like 50 feet across. This one is like cavernous. It is very beautiful because the sides are covered in lichen and moss. There are birds that fly and swoop, and there's like artificial light which comes from the center and like goes down. And as you look and walk further down, there are shooting waterfalls. Uh, that are streaming jets of water into the center of this cavern, um, which cause mist and foam and beautiful rainbows. And there are little alcoves that you pass by where, a rat folk couple is sitting, exchanging, you know,
canoodling.
yeah, canoodling in various ways. There's an old gnomish man who is staring off into the distance and just enjoying his moment as he's um, sitting there. And it goes down for several hundred feet. It's a lot of stairs, but every moment that you spend down there, it feels like you're in a place of tranquility and joy. And this continues onward as you get to the bottom of this large cavernous kind of well. The uh, the water continues falling downward past you, but you reach a platform, and this platform, the stairs kind of swoop down, and everything that isn't, like directly, or it kind of swoops down, and then there's archways that are very, very tall that kind of sweep around this cylinder at the bottom, and decorated with various uh, sconces, some beautiful like writing and script of some sort, which you could examine if you feel like. Uh, there is also um, yeah, and there's many people kind of like at the bottom. Some people are like selling things in a quiet. It's not like this busy, hectic marketplace like it was in Stoneshear, but this kind of, oh, hey, here you go. Here's your crepe. Here's some apples, for the journey upward to Stoneshear, or like, just to enjoy your day, or this, that, and the other. No hollers, no hooting and hollering. It's just people enjoying yourself. And as you get down onto the platform proper and you see out into this area, cool water is the best way to describe it. It is a pristine tapestry of stonework and waterwork that interweaves in on itself in a way that it's almost hard for your mind to comprehend all the ins and outs of this large city that you find yourself looking at. The outer like ring of this enormous area has waterfalls coming off from the side and falling like right near towns or the township that kind of is the outer ring. Large pools of water outside of that township where this water falls. Um, Boats sitting on the shore, small little fishing boats and others that are uh, like rotor boats that are apparently taking people around. You could see dozens and dozens of people kind of ferrying back and forth on these boats. And inside the stonework of these houses is beautiful and elegant. And as you get inward, they become larger and larger buildings until you reach the center where all the canals uh, find themselves converging onto what is essentially a moat, but it's to call it a moat would be like calling the Mona Lisa a drawing. You know what I mean? There are beautifully crafted bridges that extend from the more living spaces into this, central castle that also has magically shooting waterfalls that actually go upward and then fall back down like into the moat. And it's all this beautiful kind of azure grayish stonework from here for what seems like a couple miles into the city, to the opposite side of the city.
So it's more like a water highway.
Say again?
Would you say it's more like a water highway because these different canals kind of converge?
Yes.
And this water highway is essentially going throughout the entire city.
Yes, and in fact, you see people with like push boats, like Venetian in essence, with rods that they could push themselves down these canals. And there are people lining up to be taken further into the city, and people who are coming back. And there are separate like waterways, and the water flows downward in one and flows upward in the other, and you think that there has to be magic involved with these, but you don't know which is the natural flow, so you kind of go with it. But yeah,
Bridges,
that's
where
you
fuck
find
are
yourself.
we?
Oh, this is and he
fucking fairy tale.
for the first time, a calmness is over Scritch's, and a large beaming smile that reveals, surprisingly well kept teeth and a kind of like majesty as he straightens his back and looks over the city, that he lives, and he says, "This is Coolwater, the city of my
Very
ancestors."
fucking cool.
Oh, yes. Come, let's get a raft, a flotilla, whatever they're called. I forgot. And he kind of like scurries off in like a fun little, like a kid just super excited to go get some ice cream.
I'm following him. I'm gonna kind of nudge Rhea. Come on, like, despite what you think of him, this is still pretty fucking wicked.
All I can think about is who they stole this from.
I think they stole it from anybody. Remember, they came out to be after the fog had set in, so it just seems like they made this place for themselves.
It really seems like the people that you know are very different.
Also, if we're talking about stealing, it seems like you're building upon pre-existing structures. So, if you want to get into that argument, we could.
That's me smiling, not her.
She doesn't really have a mouth that can smile, She's just... Eek.
You don't have to talk to them, you don't have to be nice, you don't have to pretend you like them, but there's still beauty and wonder in things you see around you. And it doesn't make you any less for admitting that to yourself. You don't have to tell me you think it.
I will admit, it is confusing.
I understand. I'm not telling you need to choose or decide or change the way you think right now. Just, it'll take some time to take in the information and process. I understand. And I forge on ahead after that and just kind of try to keep up with it.
And Rhea, you see some small rat children playing near you over like a ball, and like they're wrestling and trying to like take it away from each other in like a very fun, silly way. And you kind of it triggers a memory in your mind of a time when you used to play in a similar way with your father. When he was a military man, and he wanted to teach you how to be tough, so you would fight over this, that, and the other, and however you respond to that is your own. But
I just stare at him, like not like menacingly, but like contemplatively.
So Scritches finds a boat. There's a little pilot, and he is the most adorable, silver-haired, old rat man that you have ever seen in your life. And he has a little hat that sits atop his head.
Yeah.
Like kind of a
Rat with a
skew.
hat.
Please tell me his name's Stuart.
Sure, his name's Stuart. Stuart the boatman. He says, I've been doing this for many years, and it is nice to see some foreigners every once in a while. I'd love to hear your stories, but only after I tell you mine. And he pushes off and starts taking you away, and he tells you about some of the history of the city, about the creation of the outer ring, which was almost entirely made by just the rat folk, but how the drow came in, and the gnomes came in and helped them eventually, and the funnily enough, the main feature was always just the waterfalls on the outside, but eventually the canals were made with magical construction. And even though they look like they've been there forever, they've only been there for a couple hundred years, which is, but they become a very important part of their city, and they get visitors from all over the Underdark, but most often it is those who are searching for the Temple of Thar, which is the large building in the center, and which is also a castle for the royal family.
Sorry, just to interrupt you quickly, I went ahead and made a performance check for my cool water sketch, and I rolled a 14.
Sure. 14. With a 14, it's like one of those like rough like outline sketches that you might do for when you're getting something. When you're doing concept art, right?
Or like a storyboard or concept art, yeah.
Yeah, like more than a storyboard,
Okay.
and like and not quite to the point where it's like this is something that we're going to put in the game, but that kind of level of concept art, because there's so much detail that it's hard to, without sitting in one spot for hours and hours and hours on end, which you definitely could do. There's so much detail that you have to just kind of fudge it a little bit in order to get the big sweeping strokes of what this place feels and looks like. But yeah, eventually, unless you have any questions for the old man or would like to talk to him in some way, eventually you make it to the center moat, and it takes you about like, what would that be, like a half an hour to get there? And he regales you not just with tales of the city, but tales of that one bar over there that you just passed. That this one guy just broke a steel tankard over the side of his friend's, got right up, and it was fine, and everything.
You
very.
cut out a bit there.
Oh, well, sorry.
Yeah.
I hate this microphone, man. Actually, I love this microphone. It has lasted like 10 years, or like 7 years. But it's getting old, the poor bud. But yeah. So just a funny bar story that he tells you about people getting wrecked and being perfectly fine. Oh, but you find yourselves in the center kind of moat. What would you guys like to do?
Where to, Scritches?
I believe the center gate is this way. And he kind of points over to the side and, just starts leading you towards the gate, which is it's very sturdy. It looks incredibly well crafted, but it stands wide open, and people of every make and model of Underdark citizen are roaming back and forth. In fact, Auburn is so distracted by the beauty of the architecture and, kind of just overwhelmed trying to sketch and print things, he misses something that you two see, which is there seems to be a giant mushroom that is talking with other people, but not actually using words, but like gestures of some sort. And there's like a group of like 3 or 4 people that are all kind of talking with it, and it's like 8 feet tall, and it's moving like a normal human, but it's just a huge mushroom. When you look closely, there's a couple like little tiny mushrooms that are kind of like bobbing around, like playing around this huge mushroom.
I did not expect so much life down here.
Oh, yes. Glenn, you're muted.
I said that in my head. That's why you didn't hear it. So then he goes out loud. What is that?
And Scritches kind of looks to the side and he says, "Oh yes, the myconids. They are quite impressive. Very large.
What do they eat?
Usually waste of various sorts.
Like rotting flesh, or like just anything that can decompose?
Yes,
Wood?
that.
They eat wood?
Sure.
Oh.
Plants, animals, various materials.
They must be very important
nature.
to the basic natural structure of the cycle down here, huh?
Yeah, there are those in the ecology of the academy who they call them what are they called? Shepherds of the Underdark. I think that's a colloquial title that some use.
Oh.
Do you think they're cannibalistic?
Anything that can decompose, but they are intelligent. Right?
Yes, it's an interesting thing. If one of them dies, they are simply absorbed, almost. Is what I've heard.
Are they like I've read stories of a hive mind. Do they all have similar connections?
No and yes. No and yes. They all can communicate simultaneously through one large network, and are always connected with it, but they are not necessarily one mind. Every single one of them has their own personality.
So it's one network, less than one mind.
What? Sorry.
It's one network, less than it is one mind, right?
Yes.
Cool.
What language do they speak?
Oh, so they have this interesting cycle in which they infect you with spores, and then
you can't speak with animals and start walking towards it.
You can speak with animals, You don't understand anything that it's saying, but as you get
But I can
closer
hear it?
to it, you cannot hear it. As you get closer to it, roll a
Isn't working.
Constitution saving throw.
Is it against
And-
poison?
It is against poison, technically.
Oh shit, I rolled bad. That is a 8.
Wonderful. Because you rolled bad and were unable to save against the spores, you are now infected with telepathic spores, which allow you to speak with this myconid and its children.
And then in
Oh!
10 years, guess what
Can I
happens?
talk back to them in my brain, or do I have to speak out loud?
So it's speaking to like everybody in the area,
Mm-hmm.
but you hear kind of like you hear giggling, which in a dark room with nobody else around would be scary, but you know, you could tell that it's like these two little myconid sprouts. One very differently sized than the other. One's like this big, and the other one's like this big, like you know maybe 4 feet tall. And they're kind of like stumbling on each other and you know having a good time. They don't wear clothing. What the larger one has like a very large pack, which has like a large face adorned on it. They don't really have faces, so you could imagine that maybe it is not the make of their people. But yeah, they're just discussing. Actually, they seem to be proselytizing a little bit, talking about how the gemstone eye watches over the followers of Thar, and they will always be in its sight if they stay true to their own, you know, ways of craft and faithfulness that the Temple of Thar wants them to pursue. You know, be yourself and help others be themselves as much as possible. Just as Thar awakened the folk of the city, so too will you be awakened by Thar and his ever expanding omniscience.
Who's Thar?
You don't know?
I'm asking them in my brain.
And it kind of turns to you, and it doesn't have like you could tell like from the way the shoulders are that you're on one side of it, but
Right.
it doesn't really have a face or anything. But you could sense that it's looking at you from this like tingle in your brain, and it says, "Ray, new recruit to the world, Thar. Wonderful. Blue One, have you seen the magnificence of the temple? Oh!" And he, like, points up to the temple.
No. Not yet.
Well, I highly move beyond the portcullis and over the bridge and worship there. Do you have any pursuits which you find life affirming?
Oh, I'm trying to make this staff stronger, and I just kind of set the staff in, like, just push it into the ground a little bit, like, trying to unlock the potential of this little piece of a big old magic tree.
Oh, tree, a term I have not heard in many an age.
The top of the roots, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Certainly, Thar will allow to make your staff larger. And he, as you can tell, the words are like, they're like ripples and waves of kind of weirdness. It more feels like a fluttering of like you know how you feel like nervous or excited and you get the flutters on your stomach? It's like that's happening in your brain, and that's how he's communicating with you. It's like, oh,
Probably tickles a little bit,
I am going to walk up then and say, Cascade, what are you doing?
Roll a Constitution saving throw.
Give
I'm
in.
going to
That's all I'm
fail.
saying.
Okay.
You're already there.
So you fail and you are able to understand what this creature is saying.
I'd say I would walked in like right when he was talking about the staff. Can I understand him too through my mind?
Yeah. You could actually communicate with Cascade telepathically if you wanted to. You notice like it's almost like a feeling of like, oh, this person's right here. And Scritches looks at Auburn and says, "Hey, your friends, they're speaking with the Myconid." You're muted, sir. In Discord.
Who's it? What's it? And I've just been like taking notes and just trying to remember all the details that the cabbie gave.
We're just
You
standing
want
around an
walking?
8-foot mushroom who we're all like, I'm like laughing at him, but you don't hear me talking.
What the fuck is this? And then I'm gonna start sketching whatever I'm seeing.
Give in.
Are you getting closer to it?
Play.
I get maybe
Don't
like
do it.
I'll get maybe like 10 feet initially, just so I could get all the details. Do you mind? I'm gonna roll that performance for this sketch of whatever this is.
Sure.
Squishes. What am I looking at here?
Oh, it's a Myconid. This is an, I believe it's an elder. It is quite large, so I'm sure that he's here for communication with folk about the Temple of Thar.
I rolled a 6. So what I'll say is happened because I have an idea of what I'm walking into. I got just a little too close.
Yeah.
I'm assuming, and so I just kind of got trailed away. It's gonna end up looking like this really tripped out, like laser light drawing of this giant mushroom.
So you got a little too close. Roll a Constitution saving throw.
21.
A 21. So you, just by like your arcane nature and the study of the arcane, you can tell that there's some sort of like, it's almost like a field that you feel is around you, and it's trying to like physically push its way into your mind, like through your ears, through your nose, through your mouth, and it's not like necessarily uncomfortable, but it is invasive, and you're like,
Sure.
you instinctively kind of like push away from.
So because I got a little too close and because I was concentrating on fighting that away, I was like, no, just give me just 2 more seconds. I just need to. Fine. What do you want?
And are you allowing this sensation
Yeah.
to take hold of you? And you know, it's not even like, it doesn't feel like anything. Just very suddenly, you can now hear what the Myconid is saying. You could hear kind of like this odd giggling from these two smaller Myconid, what are apparently children running around and having a good time. This larger Myconid. And once again, it is a large mushroom. Like if you ever played Dark Souls and you saw the Myconids in Dark Souls, they look like that,
Sure.
basically.
Mushroom people.
The big guy has a rather large pack with a stitched face, even though he does not have a face. Actually, it's not really even a him; it's it or they. So you hear this interesting voice which speaks to you in very long and fluctuating tones, and it's like what I described to Glenn and Brandon is that it's almost as if that feeling when you're getting nervous in your stomach or getting excited, that is happening in your brain, and it almost, like Glenn said, kind of tickles a little bit your head, but you can understand. And you also notice that Cascade is speaking without speaking. and can you could hear him right next to you, but he is not mouthing words.
And then I'm gonna try it. Is this telepathy?
Why, yes, it is.
I've never seen your kind before. Greetings.
Greetings, young wizard. And
How'd you? I'm not even gonna worry about it. It's a
it
pleasure to meet you.
is
Wait, you're a wizard?
Alright, Cass, I'm gonna need you to put a cork in it.
Ah! Gotcha. In your brain.
Imagine the tactical advantages of this, I think.
Does it last for a
There
long time?
are certainly warriors of the Myconid people. They often are unheard and unseen. And you could tell, like, this kind of ominous tone, but he giggles afterwards and kind of brings relief.
That thing you just described with ominous tone and then giggles after reminds me of this guy, Nick Offerman in Parks and Rec.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Why are we here? And I'm looking at Cass and Rhea. Sorry, I got lost in taking notes.
We just saw him. And
Oh,
Cascade
okay, cool.
walked up.
Great, cool.
And the Myconid kind of pipes up and he says, they were learning of the great god Thar and his path towards self-exploration and betterment.
Good guy,
I'll
Bar.
take. And then I'm gonna ask for the spiel again, and I'm gonna take all the notes that I get.
So in his odd way, with all kind of weird, it does feel a little bit like you're high when you're talking to this thing. So
It's like a theremin, but with the pitch turned down.
yeah, kind of. Oh yeah, that's exactly what it's like. But his spiel is basically Thar is here to expand your horizons and to make you a better version of yourself, to awaken the creativity and light within you in order to better yourself and those around you. And he uses, for the second time now, an example of the rat folk of the city as like the pinnacle of those who were enlightened by Thar. Yeah.
So, how long does the brain talking last?
You will be able to communicate within a short distance of each other for approximately 24 hours.
Okay.
A full day and night cycle.
And then
Brain
then I'd ask him, have you ever seen people like me before? Or
Humans? Why, yes, of course. They come here very infrequently, but I am quite old.
makes sense. And what about the Eric Cochran? Have you had much experience with him?
They even more frequently. They are often not so kind.
Hey.
Alright.
Hey.
And then I'm gonna just Cass.
I had an idea.
Yes.
So, as effectively your bodies are very much like your smaller toadstool friends that don't move, correct, friend? Just, add in thought, movement, intelligence, empathy, all that fun stuff, right?
Yes.
Do you still absorb, recycle a lot of things into the world?
Oh, I suppose yes.
Do you know of any creature that does the same thing, but instead of it being something on the ground decaying or something like that, something that fixes the air, removes any sort of like impurifications or anything outside of what is needed in natural, consistent, breathable air.
I do not know of such a creature, but the world is wide and full of things that even my aged self cannot comprehend.
That's actually an interesting thought, Cascade. Maybe if we could find something that,
Purifier.
with carbon dioxide and oxygen, if we could find something that could do that to the fog, that might be a temporary countermeasure. Sir, do you have a name? I'm Auburn.
We do not carry names, but you may refer to me as Elder.
All right, Elder, it's lovely. It's been a pleasure, and then I'm going to... Cass seems like he really wants to say it. Cass.
Does the fog affect you?
Do you breathe?
Yes, we
They-
breathe. It is not as you do. We do not have the inner machinations of flesh as
Probably some
you
form of
all.
osmosis.
But the fog above it is a frightful place for myconids.
You absorb
Even
it and
if we make it there, yes, the fog has a tendency to cause us to lose connection with our greater being.
Interesting. That's interesting. As thank you, could I offer you some information? I don't know. I'm sure you've met other humans, and then I'm going to just start
Yes.
explaining like the sky cities and their structure in as brief detail as I can for whatever time we spend here. I'm not going to go rambling on.
He does
I'm just
say
showing,
that
like, some of my sketches.
He does say that he is familiar with Legends of the Sky Cities, and has apparently spoken in his many years to the to some former denizens of them. But he very much appreciates the sketches because he has never seen a sketch of them before, and he thanks you, and he says, "It is not often that an elder such as myself finds a new morsel of information which we can enjoy and look upon. In Teray, would you be willing to provide me with a couple of those wonderful sketches? And I will give you a gift."
Just give me a couple minutes, and I'm gonna pull out, because it's from my Awakened spellbook, I'm gonna pull out separate sheets of parchment, and then just like trace copy them and label them as well, and do each of the sky cities, and then do kind of like battle map style, some examples of like airships as well, and then do a few sketches and like characteristics, like when they do concept art and they do like a style sheet breakdown of like, oh, this is what my character looks like. So I'll be like, oh, this is what elves look like.
Paper and looks upon them, and you have like I don't know how many sketches. How many did you provide him?
I'd give him maybe 3 parchments. They wouldn't be super long, but I'd give him maybe 3 different scrolls. One for the cities, one for some of the transportation methods we use, and then one for like some of the people.
I may know a man would find some of this very useful for the citizens of this and other Underdark City. And he kind of rolls it up, puts it in his pack. Go ahead, Brandon.
How can you see the drawings?
You know, I don't know.
Okay. What's
I
your
believe it is just what they call blind sense.
How many cycles around the sun do you do before you pass?
Oh, In
I'm sorry,
the
it's just very curious.
rainy seasons and dry seasons, as we do not use the sun down here often, it is, several hundred. Though there is no sure way to tell, often the eldest of the elders simply stop moving.
Interesting.
This has been delightful, Elder.
I have also enjoyed our interaction. But your gift, and he puts the scrolls inside of his pack, and the pack is like, maybe this big, and his arm is fucking huge because he's a giant mushroom man, and his arm goes all the way into the pack.
Hell yeah.
And then he kind of like stretches it open a little bit and like fits a lot of his head and just kind of like keeps reaching down and like until probably a quarter of his body is inside of this pack. And he brings out a tiny, tiny little mushroom. And he says, "This is one of our kin. If you raise it well, then it will aid you in your adventure." And he hands whoever wants to take it.
Ogren steps aside to let Cass move forward.
And it's like this big, but it's very distinctly a little mushroom that kind of like wiggles back and forth.
Like Baby Groot.
Kind of. Be sure to find it a small box in which it can live, and be sure to provide sediment-rich with food for it. But in time,
And water. And I just, like, create water, and I put a little bit of water and just kind of put a drop next to it.
and it kind of like on your hand, it kind of goes whoop, 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 like kind of like back and forth, and it just like plops the top of its head down, and you see it absorb, and it just kind of sits back, and it's like chilling. Once it becomes around this size, and he takes his hand and he plops it, like right as one of the dudes is the little guys is running by, he just plops it and it just stops and kind of like looks at him. And once it becomes around this size, it will provide you with the ability to speak at all times. This depends highly upon its ability to eat good, nutritious soil. Now,
Did you just become a dad?
I'm a mushroom daddy.
hell yeah. Now go and visit the Temple of Thar. Understand?
Oh.
If you wish to name him Thar, then you certainly may.
Yeah.
A fitting tribute. And he kind of like puts his big arm to the side and, you know, has you walk, or like, you know, ushers you towards the large like gateway, and the beautiful bridge leading to the center of the city.
Auburn gives him a little bow and then proceeds onwards.
Scritch is kind of like he has like a popsicle in his face, and like he's like it's kind of like getting all over his whiskers, and he comes back and he says,
Oh, wonderful. Just in time.
and
What color is
Oh.
the popsicle?
it is blue.
No PTSD.
Your clothes are red.
He looks at the little mushroom within your hand, and from his like lapel, he you know, there seems to be some sort of lapel pocket, and he takes out a little looking glass, and he's like,
Name is Thor.
Is that a myconid spore?
Yeah. His name is Thor. We have to get him a box and soil.
Guys, you realize that that thing is worth several thousand gold, correct?
You realize that he's my son?
He is my child.
He is my blood. He's literally feeding on my blood right now. It hurts. I'm just kidding. It's like stuck his roots into my hand already. It's so good.
Well,
Father, I crave violence.
well, they are certainly common among the myconid folks. They do not often share with you with those up here. You must have really impressed him.
He was a very kind creature. They were a very kind creature?
Yes,
It was a very kind creature.
they don't care too heavily what you call them, as long as you don't call them like, you know, shroomies or something like that. That's very disrespectful.
Who would do that?
There are some stupid people.
Would you call that your Micah kid?
I didn't think I would hear a joke from the feathered one, but you're good.
and he kind of just walks on.
I'm just gonna put him in the staff of the woodlands and all of the branches that come up, and I'm gonna say, stay in there, and I'm like, put him where the branches go up, and there's like
and it
a
kind
little.
of goes, whoop, whoop.
And I'll eventually try and find some dirt, maybe, and like pack it in there so he can like.
Sure,
Yeah.
that's great.
Like it.
Alright, now is this about a temple?
Temple. He just told us to go in it.
Yeah, it is, like I said, you know, in the beginning description, it is very large, it's very beautiful. There is inverse waterfalls flowing up the side of it. And there are, you know, several smaller, you know, kind of like buttressed towers that, you know, are along the side of it. But you go in through the main door, and many people are flowing in and out. There is, you know, but it's not loud. It's actually rather, it's not solemn either. It's like this, we're all just kind of glad to be here kind of feel. And Scritch is, you know, walking up straight, you know, feeling happy, it seems. And inside this main doorway, which is, it doesn't really have a door. It's just like this open, you know, beautiful archway that is very thin and steeps at the top in like this flowing pattern of the arches, like as though it is water. And as you go inside, there's a large area that that people could sit in. There's pews, you know, obviously a place for somebody to have speeches about, you know, religious ceremony and things like that, whatever that may look like. And but the vast majority of it is like cartoned off you know, in not a like fuck you can't go here, but it's just like, you know, they want to keep everybody maintained in a reasonable way. And obviously the rest of this area is a palace for the nobility that live here. And Scritches walks right past all of the cordoned off area and says, "Come on." And he opens up one of the things and expects you to walk through.
Okay. I just follow him.
And walk through,
Personally.
click. Up above you, as you're getting past like these crowds of people and through this cordoned off area, you can see. Do you know what an astrolabe is? You could look it up.
Big
It's
planet thing? There's all the orbits?
yeah, it's like it predicts the orbits of the planets and stuff. It's like this giant, probably 30, 40 foot gold, silver, and gem encrusted astrolabe that floats magically in the middle of the area. And it turns slowly in various ways. And there is one beautiful center. Well, actually, you can't see it because it's covered by a golden sheen or like sheath of some sort. But Scritches points up and he says, "The Eye of Thar is very beautiful. You should see it one day." And then there are many other eyes as well. That one right there, and that one right there, and all of them seem to be like closed and like covered with this gold kind of covering. He's like, "Maybe one day. It is not often that Thar opens his eyes."
Right. Realizing the implications of Scritches going past like that, like the cordoned off area and leading us in, it would be very like noticeable that Auburn stiffened up, understanding the implications, and while we were walking up, was busy prestidigitating himself and like cascade if he doesn't stop him, and also attempt to do so on Rhea.
Hmm?
Just to like give us a little bit of a dust off, just to clean up all.
Okay.
Yeah, and then just going like, Rhea, she.
Don't worry about all that. And then he just kind of goes by, and he walks like kind of to the opposite side of this large room. There's like many pillars, and the main focus obviously is the glowing astrolabe in up above you. That's probably 30 feet into the air. Catching this artificial light that is streaming through the windows and like this very holy, beautiful look. And just below it, there seems to be a throne of some sort, as well as which is only probably 10 or 15 feet from the pews themselves, which people sit at. Scritches goes. The room is lined with pillars. And he goes on the outside between the pillar and the wall, kind of circles in behind the larger throne and into what seems like a kind of like an offshoot corridor. And third door on the right, you find him opening up the door and say, come on in. And he just, as you walk behind him and he opens this door up, you just smell chemicals. Caustic fucking chemicals that are like singe the insides of your nose, and it's very, very abrupt after, this kind of very pleasant area. It is
Like Auburn back to his teenage days.
Yeah, right.
Reading all the books and like experimenting with things.
Right. I smell that too. I'm gonna stop as soon as I do, and I'll be like, "Hey, you got a airtight box I can put our friend in before we enter the room that smells like lots and lots of chemicals?"
"Oh, he'll be fine." And then he
just
walks in.
"Okay, I'll wait out here," and I just sit in the hallway. I'll wait if you leave the door open. I'll listen,
you can talk and stuff.
We can telepathically speak still, so.
Yeah, you certainly can. And it seems as you're testing this, it's about 30 feet.
Okay.
And they're not going to get more than 30 feet away. So Scritches goes into this room. There is a it's rather large. It is well made, well decorated, but there are many singe marks on pieces of nice furniture and things like that. But the main focus of the room is in the back right. There is a L-shaped desk that is huge with many pipettes and various flasks and jugs with various liquids. And he says, "Oh, it's been 2 weeks. It's been 2 weeks." And then he just starts like mixing things and like changing things and taking something that's been burning on a Bunsen burner for like 2 weeks and takes it off, turns off the Bunsen burner, etc., etc. After he takes it off the Bunsen burner, the smell somewhat subsides, but he all of a sudden something clicked and he just starts working.
Is there anything in here that I'm sure I recognize the devices and the things and like the equipment, but is there any of the liquids or any of the processes that indicate something specific?
Sure. There's definitely like alcohol distillal, but not in the way to make liquor, but in pure alcohol is very important in certain alchemical situations. There is various like precious metals that are apparently being like shaved and mutated in some way with alchemy. You recall him saying before about how magic is just it's crude. There's so much craziness that could go a part of it, but alchemy is like that's science, baby. There's a little bit of magic in it, but for the most part, it's understanding and manipulating these things to make it controlled. And you could see that in his work. Everything is incredibly well organized on his desk. Everything off his desk is a shit show. Books, papers, various like files and things like that have been discarded. Some broken. You should have to check your feet to make sure you're not stepping in glass. But yeah, and he's just working away. But yes, you do recognize quite a few things.
Scritches.
He doesn't respond.
To work. I'm just gonna start. I'm like, at least for the floor is what I'm gonna like clean up. But I want to like look through like his notes and things. I want to see if there's. I don't care about what he's been working on, except for if by any chance there's something to do with the fog or gaseous distillation or extracting things from gas.
Sure. Go ahead and roll a percentile die.
Did you say gaseous distillation in a D&D game?
Gaseous distillation!
Listen,
that's awesome.
The chemistry that I failed 3 times in high school, some of it.
If you don't pass it, just pretend that you did.
54.
54? Unfortunately, you did not exceed the threshold. But you can tell that maybe he has worked on something like that in the past. I mean, any scholarly mind, you think that, especially one that lives so close to the fog and whose society interacts with it regularly, they probably studied it in some way, but he's not working on anything right now. And he doesn't keep active notes just chilling. As you can tell from the rest of his apartment, he doesn't really keep active notes anywhere but in disorder.
Well, I guess we'll just wait here. And Albert's just gonna spend his time just looking through, and he's not gonna copy anything. He's not gonna take anything. He's just he's another academic just looking at other academia, just other not necessarily peer-reviewed journals, but they're still journals regardless.
Right.
And so he's just gonna rifle.
Cascade. Outside, you see a couple guard come over, and they seem to be kind of beelining it towards you. And they look at you, and they kind of nod their head. They speak a little squeakish between each other.
And speak with animals.
You already did earlier, so it's already active. So you hear them say, "Oh,
Oh, for what it's worth, that only lasts for 10 minutes. Speak with Animals does.
it's
Only lasts-
sure it's been 10 minutes,
Okay.
whatever."
Okay.
He said, the one says to the other, "Master Coolwater keeps interesting company," and as he's like kind of looking at you, like play with this little mushroom and like kind of having a good time. But they, as they nod to you and kind of say that, they go right in and announce themselves at like kind of the doorway.
Can I say in my brain just incoming to them just before they enter?
I prepare my staff.
Oh, sorry. I'll be more specific next time.
But Rhea is like like this, but
I'm prepped for war.
yeah. Scritches is just continues to work, and Auburn, you turn around to see two very beautifully dressed guards. The kind of uniforms that you saw before for Alvis's guards, they were functional but very lovely. These are almost strictly functional, but they are so well polished and well maintained. It is a sight to behold, a piece of craftsmanship that is so intense. And you too, Cascade, especially, because you actually, all three of you have a reason to look at this armor and be like, holy shit, because Cascade, you have studied both magic and just kind of like you've studied mechanical things in your studies of science with Minnick, and you, Rhea, I mean, you've been a part of the military forever, so seeing such high quality armor is like, holy shit. They did their job. But it is a full plate with like a frog helm with some blue and white feathers coming off the top of it, not from an Aarakocra. But they say in Squeakish, they say, Lord Clearwater, your sister summons you, sir. And
Squeak, squeak 'em, squeak, squeakers.
yeah, in Squeakish. And he doesn't say anything or react. And you're sitting there, Rhea and Auburn, just kind of like, do we do something? and then a very obvious cough from one of them. Lord Coolwater, your sister summons you. And yeah, exactly. Like they kind of like bow their heads a little bit after, and he still continues to fiddle with things. The one guard looks at the other, and then he just walks forward and kind of pokes Scritches. Scritches like ah! And then like almost splashes some caustic material onto the guard. It hits the ground and like like yeah, exactly. And he's like huh. Mary, I am so sorry. I almost caught your suit on fire again. Let's not do that. What do you need? Lord Coolwater, your sister is summoned you. Oh, thank you so much, Mary. Yes. Yes, okay. And then he just turns around and walks out. Not in any way. You are okay to follow him, he says in common.
But we're planning on it. Sorry, I don't mean to. We don't know what to do yet. We're a little out of place, but we'll follow you.
It's all right. He is an interesting individual.
We've spent a couple of days with him. We know.
Well, thank you for that. And Scritches is kind of like just gone. So they help walk you towards this kind of inner chamber, which is it looks like a dining hall, and in fact it. But at the end, there's a small like crescent table, in which a absolutely beautifully regal individual sits. She has the same color fur as Scritch's, but her she wears flowing cloth and silks, and she has a small crown on, or really a circlet on her head. And as you see Scritches walk up to her, she embraces him and just says, "Oh, I'm so in Squeakish, you understand it. I'm so happy to see you. Thank you, thank Thar, that you're back alive and well taken care of." Um, they talk amongst each other. Would you like to do something?
Um, yeah, yep, yep. Just staying there, kind of like twiddle my thumbs back there. I don't want to interrupt, but I'm not going to. Yeah, I'm just gonna stand there.
Sure. They kind of get lost in conversation for probably a few minutes, and you are just sitting there. Yes, it is. I mean, the hall is a little shorter than the
Yeah.
stuff outside, but it is very beautiful, very well made. This kind of the same like azure and gray theme throughout the city, very pleasant and relaxing. Light filters in from somewhere, seems to be magical in nature, and sconces light the walls with this um, soft, orange flame. And as the the speaking, rises to a fever pitch in one way or another, obviously, um, uh, mix with which is what Scritch has called her. Um, Hearing what is going on and you catching bits and pieces of the conversation cascade. Um, uh, she looks towards you all, and Scritch is like, yes, 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 they help me, they help me. You should speak with them, yes. And she says, right, and she kind of like straightens herself out, like puts her stuff a little bit, and she uh gets a regal air about her, and walks very graciously in your direction. Uh, Good evening. My name is Mixtrix Waterseeker. I am the very happy sister of Stilben here, and I thank you on behalf of all of Coolwater for returning my brother to me. Um,
And I've been willingly, and like if there's a Cascade would have seen few people that he would have done this with, but there's a little bow, greetings, my lady. I'm Auburn Stillfall. It was no trouble.
oh, I doubt that's true. Uh, but
No, really, the things we fought along the way were not because of him. It really was no trouble.
well, that's good to hear. Um, Stilben is very gifted, and she puts a hand on kind of his elbow, and but he has his problems, and but he has done so much for the city. I mean, he was working on research, strengthen some of the outer defenses against some unwanted incursions from folks in the Underdark. So his he is quite helpful and very intelligent, but he has his issues from time to time. I thank you so incredibly much for bringing him back to us safely. Uh, what brings you here? Did you only come out of charity for my brother?
Um, we're tracking a rather dangerous Eric Cochran, who we believe is working with some of potentially the Fogbound, controlling them through magical means, and controlling other Eric Cochrans he's captured, experimented on them. That's caused their feathers to turn bright red and lose their feathers from the neck up. Um, and that's kind of led us down here, led us into your brother here, and he'd asked us for our aid, and he said that there might be information down here. He didn't promise us anything. He said maybe you'd be able to point us in the right direction, or maybe other people will. People above seem to have some information, so all in all, a worthwhile trip.
So at the mention of Alvis, she actually kind of gets a nice uh, like smile on her face and breaks some of that gracious demeanor. And she says, "Oh, Alvis, he's an interesting man, but he is very well equipped for uh, subterfuge and things like that. He knows his stuff. So if you require assistance, I'm sure that he will be able to provide information."
If I may, before we get too carried away with whatever our conversation will be, I'm going to gesture towards the sigil that's still on our shoulders. Um, I don't know what kind of influence is down here. I'm still learning about the structure here, but a
Oh,
guard captain from this house has been very helpful. And if they could see some sort of repayment for that, because of them, we were able to get all the way down here.
Mary. And she clicks over in Mary's direction. "Oh, yes, ma'am." And she walks forward and take those badges. Um, and Mary kind of undoes all of your badges and takes them from you and says, "Be sure to award them compensation for their kind uh, treating of our foreign guests." And Stillben, you didn't tell them who you are. This this isn't the first time this has happened. He likes going up to Shearstone, or Stone Shear, and pretending like he's just another person in the academy.
I could tell his squeakish was a little too refined, you know. I was like, there's something there.
It's hard to hide.
Yeah.
And she gives you a little wink and she says, "Yes, you are standing in the presence of Prince Stillben Waterseeker, and I am Queen Mixtrix Waterseeker. We are the ruling nobility of this fine realm, and oh, please get up."
Very nervously, Auburn's going to go like, "Oh, this old fella," and I'm going to ruffle Stillben's hair.
And he's like, "Stop it, stop." She says, "Please don't do that." But she says, "We have been ruling here for, well, since our awakening. Not me personally, sorry. You're new here. I don't want to make you believe that
I
perhaps
understand.
we're immortals. That's not my
Don't make me
father's
capture you and then-
father's mother. They started this whole thing
Right.
with the help of our wonderful deity Thar."
Thar. I have a Thar.
You have a Thar.
Is
Oh,
that-
is that a Myconid?
Yeah.
You're very lucky. Those are rare for us folk to come by. Common
He's
down in
part of everything.
Indeed, that is what they say.
I like it.
One day he will be quite useful to you, I'm sure.
He's useful right now. Huh?
I suppose he is. And she kind of, chuckles and laughs, and she says, "Well, I cannot, in good conscience, leave you without some sort of compensation. What, if anything, could I possibly do for you? We have access to funds, we have access to knowledge and information, as well as, things of magical nature. I mean, the whole of Augments is, just a little ways away." I see that I've stumped you. It's all right. You don't have to answer right now. It is a permanent offer that's on the table.
Well, I no, I do. I just don't know how much it's going to cost me. I would like to spend some time with the Academy at Stoneshire, potentially gaining some new spells and gaining some information about you and your people because we save our friend Rhea here are from the Sky Cities, and
The sky cities, the ones above the clouds.
I and our
Quite a ways.
knowledge, I and our knowledge of the world, our worldview has been shattered day after day. So
I can
I
imagine.
think I want to put together with Cascade's help here, um,
Oh.
an encyclopedia, but a book here filled with, without giving away, like without making it
Sure,
a
sure.
perfect book for like enemies or whatever, but maps and brief histories and notes about the people we've met down here. And so that at one point I could take it back to my people whenever I know that they're not going to act with malignity.
Well, we do have several fantastic authors here in the city that have published books and histories, one of which is even human. So they speak the common tongue and write in the same. Uh, if you would like a copy, I could certainly provide you one. And unhindered access to the library of the Academy is no problem to me.
I it I've got some amount of pride, but I would also appreciate some amount of monetary compensation so I could add to my spell repertoire.
Oh, of course. Let us see here. How does 500 gold apiece sound?
That sounds brilliant.
Well, wonderful.
More than enough.
Well,
Well, I don't
we will
need any
have it
gold.
prepared. Well, what would you like then?
I need you to almost kill me twice.
Are you being serious?
Yeah, I need like a day to recover afterwards. This old little stick here is a piece of a big tree, and you know I'm aware that there are certain parts of it that I need to do certain things to fulfill, and a lot of them I've done, but one of them that I'm finding difficult to move past is surviving death by being an animal, basically. It needs me to...
Are you of the druidic faith?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Oh, okay, that makes a little bit more sense now. Ah,
Yeah,
goodness.
I need to understand
That's a
birth
death wish.
and rebirth and death and
Of course.
dance the line a little
well,
bit.
Something that we don't often talk about with foreigners is there is a training facility, as it were, which is not open to the public, where we train our most vicious warriors.
Like
I say
Melee
that
Mac there?
sarcastically.
That's like Glenn
Mary?
knowledge. Melee Mac
Yes.
there, I'm sorry. That's
Oh.
Glenn knowledge. Cascade does
Oh,
not
okay.
know about Melee Mac there.
But yes, it is. They're not evil, vicious killers, but we do. It's a kingdom. We need our defenses, and we train wizards, warriors, and everything in between. There, it is up in Stoneshire. So if you would like access, I would be more than happy to give you that, and I'm sure you will be able to make your match there.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And it is not often that we find one of the Aarakocran tribes to be here in our city. Oftentimes they are quite hostile to us. What brings you here? And how could I possibly repay you for caring for my brother?
We need to know where Red Beak is.
I do not know this name. I believe, as your friend here has described, you've already. Oh, Alvis would be perhaps the best place
That's
to go.
all we're here for.
And any monetary compensation for you makes things easier, of course.
Oh yeah, I want to give my monetary compensation to the rest of the guys here.
Certainly. You can use it however you like. 1,500 gold will go to you all. How about that?
Appreciate it kindly. If we could spend, not to impose too much, I'd just like to spend a day or two. I could just explore the city. I'd love to take more sketches, and I'm going to show her a few of the sketches I've done, and just gain some more information, and then I think we'll be out of your hair,
To
as
anyone
it
who
were.
is to anyone who is here to learn and better themselves and become a little more knowledgeable of the world, this city is fair game for the most part. Of course, there are those small places that are protected, one of which is the library, and one of which is the training theater. But I will provide passes for all of you to become participants. Um, but other than that, feel free to walk around and enjoy the city as much as possible. I'm sure Scritches will have plenty of work to do here as well as at the academy if you wish to visit him. He says, "Yes, I so much work," and he looks almost tired, but like kind of excited.
Be careful about the work, Bridges. Maybe talk to the academy about getting yourself an office a little bit away, a little bit more protected.
It's already done, and she looks exasperated, but we appreciate the suggestion. Um, before before I leave, uh, I'd like to introduce you to Thar, if at all possible. It is not often that we have foreigners which have done such great things, and I don't know if Thar has ever met any one of either of your kinds. And he she points to you, Cascade and Rhea. Um, it is not often that he does anything, but it's worth a try.
I'm I'm not I'm not the most religious, but I would be honored nonetheless.
Sure. Um, and she like has you follow her out into the main area with people sitting in pews and things like that. And there above you is apparently Thar, uh, this rotating astrolabe that's very beautiful. She sits in her throne, and several people kind of like perk up, but this doesn't seem to be a super unusual occurrence. Um, you know, uh, and Scritches along the way has told you people come and from all over the place, and we just like to introduce them to our god if they are people of note or import. And it seems that my my sister has found you people of note or import. Um, you are very interesting, especially you. And once again, looking at Cascade, um, and yeah, let's uh, let's go. And then you are instructed over to kind of like there's um there's the throne, and then there's like a dais right in front of the throne with a little podium, and you're instructed to kind of like sit in seats facing upward next to this dais, and some people are looking interestedly, and others are, praying, things like that. But overall, the mood is pretty relaxed, and you see Mix says, "Thaw, I introduce to you new individuals of our kingdom or queendom," and she kind of like uh, puts an eyebrow up. "Whatever, royal place. I'm not good at this stuff. There they are." And the astrolabe just keeps kind of rounding, going. Nothing really seems to happen. And It's with like kind of a sudden exhalation of breath. Nothing really happened. She walks over to you and says, "Ah, it's been many a year since I have seen him actually respond to something. So maybe something, maybe you'll do something, make a name
Maybe
for
he
yourself."
just couldn't talk. Did you give him some spores?
He has spoken many a time in my life. Once to me, once to my brother, as well as once just before the death of my father. Um, but I've never seen him speak besides. But he has provided guidance in one way or another throughout the history of our people.
Well, I mean, part of a big part of my own mission, like big picture outside of all of this, is to get rid of the fog. So maybe one day when I do that, I'll come back.
Um, roll a wisdom saving throw.
8.
You fail. Um, you feel something hit the back of your head. Not like physically, but you feel something magical kind of.
Spitball.
Yeah, a magical spitball, exactly. Just kind of like nudge the back of your mind. And you kind of like look around and you're not quite sure. But it happened right as you said the fog.
Okay.
Well, I don't want to keep you all from your exciting adventures. Um, if you have requests of a place to stay, uh, please feel free to stay here. Any of the inns in town, you will have plenty of money to provide proprietorship to them, and uh, just enjoy yourselves as much as you can. With that, from the side, Mary comes and brings you a couple like other badges that are larger. They're made of gold, and they're very intricately carved and not carved, but smithed. Um, they have a sigil of a waterfall that kind of comes in and swirls in on itself, and it seems to be the symbol of the cool water family. And she says these will give you access to all of the places which you wish to go. In addition, and she gives you a purse that like is like tiny. It's like a small purse. Um, but she says, "Here is your payment as well. Don't let the size fool you." And she she hands it to you, and you have a small purse of holding. It's maybe like you could only fit something about this big through the purse itself, maybe a few inches, and it'll be about a 4x4 space, so like a 4 foot square space.
Okay.
Perfect for coins.
Exactly. um, and I got so involved in wanting to play with you guys and tell this story and entertain that I forgot how late it was. Um, Brandon, do you have to get off pretty soon?
Oh, like an hour.
Like an hour? Okay. So why don't we take like a 5 minute break, maybe 5 or 10, and then we could continue on and see what you guys are gonna do, and we'll call it after that. All right. So
Heck yeah!
see you,
Before we break,
chat.
what
Oh,
time
go
of the
ahead.
day is it, roughly?
Um,
Like,
you guys woke up like late morning after thrashing and you know um and singing and drinking, but you woke up a little. It's probably 3 o'clock, maybe
sure.
2 3
Okay.
o'clock. Yeah,
Okay. Just so I can plan what and tell you what.
sure. All right, chat. We'll see you in about like 5 10 minutes. Okay. Peace.